Visual effects is always changing. Mandalorian, as a lot of people know, are using virtual production where it's in-camera composites. Let's talk about that's a good or bad thing, and we'll see how it's working out in the industry as a whole.
Welcome back to AsArt with Nick and John. We post 3 videos a week, from movie reviews to visual effects breakdowns and now deepfakes. Subscribe so you can get all the updates.
Check out AsArt.space. We have audio content on Spotify and iTunes, and we also have the video content in different areas and actual items coming soon. So check out AsArt.space.
John, Unreal. People are using a free program to it's like, how cool is this? Everything is so unreal right now with visual effects. I mean, we've seen some old movies before where they have the screen behind them and they're running and they have the projected thing. Like, it's not like new technology. I guess they've been doing it for years, but man, it is perfected with Unreal. I mean, the background can move, shape, perspectives. It's like, dude, and you save so much time with compositing, roto. You don't have to worry about hair. Hair's like the biggest thing when it comes to keying out and stuff like that. And it's just like, oh my gosh, this is awesome.
Yeah, so this has been getting a lot of press. There's a lot of articles out there. There is some making ofs. But as far as how much it changes things, this is really kind of a significant thing. So Unreal, as a lot of people know, is one of the biggest game engines, maybe the biggest game engine that's been around for a long time. And they shifted towards doing things for visual effects and architectural visualization. We've talked about that briefly in other episodes as well. But really, The Mandalorian was the first production to use this extensively. And really, when you look at it, so people have done different calculations of what it actually costs. And some people have said that the huge sets that they have of just curved, basically, screens that encompass the whole peripheral view of the camera and the actors and actresses, and even up to the ceiling as well. Some people have said that cost $20 million. Some people have said it cost $2.2 million. The big benefit is you're getting your composites live. You're seeing your final production. You're seeing your final results potentially shot on the fly, no post-production. But even the bigger thing that people have mentioned but not talked about extensively is just it's the interaction for the actors and actresses. Like, okay, the biggest thing for on-location shooting that can be really expensive, you have to build your sets there, you have to fly the cast and crew and staff and everything there. But the biggest thing about that is you're in that environment and the actors and actresses aren't just acting. If you guys have ever tried to do acting on blue screen or green screen, it's really difficult. And even really good actors and actresses, they can do a pretty poor job. One of the first big motion capture movies was Beowulf, which hasn't held up great as far as over the years. It was really good at the time. It was one of the first 3D movies, even before Avatar, and Avatar really surpassed it. But John Malkovich, who's a great actor, in that movie you can tell he's working on a motion capture stage, and his performance in that movie isn't that great. And I think it's because he's a interactive actor. He needs the sets. He needs the actors. And so, but with these virtual sets, you don't have to worry about that. They're not looking at ping pong balls or, like really weird things. They're actually getting the interaction, which is really, really cool.
Yes.
And in full costume and everything as well. No GIMP suits needed. Yeah, no GIMP suits needed.
And I guess the only thing that you would have to do maybe sometimes, depending on the shot, is just clean up where the screen hits the actual set. And that's like the major thing, which is super easy compared to having to do all the other stuff. And I think they even could put a green screen as the background too.
Yes.
When they need to
on the screen itself. Yes.
And it's not even reflecting the green like you would like when lights are bouncing off it as much probably. But like that's so cool that you can switch it to green or whatever you need. It's just like there. It's just like, oh my gosh. And it's so sick. It's so sick.
Oh, it's so cool. And so Nick had talked about this is really kind of, so all of the digital tools we have for visual effects where, from combining different layers, it's mimicking how you used to do it with film. And the way you would rotoscope and cut out something is how they actually used to do it with film, where they'd expose only certain parts and they'd paint with deep ink to only have certain parts of the light expose the film negative. All those digital tools reflect very much the traditional tools they did in special effects, like practical special effects. And this virtual production technology is very much, like Nick was saying, a evolution of rear projection technology, where in the old Alfred Hitchcock films and really for many, 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 many years, like going back way before even special effects.
I think even Terminator used it too, right? Didn't it use it for some of the battle scenes?
It's still, in a lot of, especially it's something you would see in a lot of like semi-current movies where they're in a car and in the back you'd see the road they do a rear projection. And so basically what a rear projection, you guys, is either from the back they're projecting onto the back of a screen like they do like in old time movie theaters, or you're just projecting some way or another onto a screen what's going on. And the benefits of that is the actors and actresses can see what's there. You're not having to do a composite after the fact. The downside of it is, though, is you can tell if there's not a really high resolution, you see the pixels, or the color doesn't quite match the color of the actual characters. The benefit of what they have now is this is all adjustable even after the fact. So even if they capture it, the camera can still capture just the characters, or it knows, what pixels what. And so you can still make adjustments after the fact. Or if you want to do a more traditional approach. So what they would do a lot of times is they would, like Nick was saying, you would still have the vast majority of this kind of almost panoramic digital background would be projecting the actual images of the final background. And then, like Nick was saying, just what the camera's seeing, just that little section, based on how you're tilting the camera, is going to follow the actors. But that's just a green screen right there. So all the rest of it is giving you live, real reflections on the armor or whatever else. But just that little green, just that little area. And so what Nick was saying, where this is really surpassing rear projection, is that rear projection was just a fixed image, whereas the Unreal, and it's kind of doing motion capture of the camera, so it knows how the camera's tilting and moving, and it updates the background to do that. And Unreal really pioneered this before even it was being used on Mandalorian. It's just that Mandalorian's the first big production to do it. And I think this is used mostly with NVIDIA hardware. So NVIDIA's done this way back in like 2008. They still had some like mosaic setup screens where you can have huge, like for especially like kiosks and stuff.
But like, think about it. They, maybe 10 to 20 million to build this thing, but it's built. And they could probably make so many shows with this. Like, there's so many shows out there already where they just have nothing but green screen and they replace the whole background. Like this is a total game changer. Cause like there's like even a lot of shows there's not a big enough budget to go shoot on location and stuff. It's actually cheaper to do green screen. So like this now, it's like if you rent out the studio or whatever, like this could be such a big game changer for faster turnaround times and production and stuff. Cause I mean, there's probably even times where lower budget shows can get away without even cleaning it up here and there. Cause like majority of the time people's eyes aren't even going to catch this stuff. Like you need a trained eye to really see the backgrounds and stuff like that.
And if the background's supposed to be out of focus, cause that's a really common camera technique, then it doesn't even need to really be super sharp anyway. The only thing they have to make sure not to do is not to get the mosaic or the moire pattern from the actual screens.
Really cool. I mean, the technology is so incredible.
They had to do a lot to get that working. They were saying that was a big hurdle initially. But like Nick was saying, it's like this is almost like a huge green screen stage where you just rent out the space and then you have access to that. The downside is it's not available more to the budget oriented. It's like it's a lot cheaper to grab a green cloth for someone who's doing something very simple or like a small green screen stage. You can build that on your own. Whereas these displays are going to be they're not going to be as towards the indie filmmaker right now. But it sounds like it's not extremely so expensive that you can't start to rent out spaces to do that as well. And, obviously panels and stuff get way cheaper as time goes along as well.
I mean, think about it. For the Avengers movie, they rebuilt the whole city of New York City, and it's all 3D. And like they're already building all these cities and stuff like that in 3D space. If you can do it in Unreal and just have the CD, the city projected and just have Iron Man. Because what's so funny? I don't know if this is. I think in the Superman movie when he's flying, I think they use screen projections in the background. When he was like flying in the first Superman film. And now I'm thinking about it, like, can you imagine seeing Iron Man and getting all the real time reflections off the cool Iron Man suit, even though that's all 3D anyways. But like if they did one without, but the Mandalorian looks so good. Like there were some shots there where his armor looked better than Iron Man's armor sometimes. It's just like, whoa, it just looks so real and in the moment and on location compared to, I feel like Iron Man's armor is getting less and less or more and more 3D, and you know what I mean? Like it feels I remember watching the first Iron Man movie when he walks away from the explosion and all that. Like I remember just like, whoa, that looks so good and stuff. Then again, there was only probably like 100 VFX shots in the first Iron Man, and then you go to the new ones now and it morphs onto the skin and everything, which is cool, but you could just like really tell it's 3D and it takes you out of it a little bit. But
so the only real downside to this technology is that if you shoot against a green screen or a blue screen, you can change things after the fact however you want. Whereas if you're shooting like rear projection when they used to do that, what you see is what you get. It's done. Boom. Things are basically shot and finished.
Mm-hmm.
But if you do a green screen, there's still benefit that I've read some articles about people who have said that, like, yeah, this technology is great, but it's still not suitable for every single situation. Some people will do live composites, but some people will still use a green screen, and sometimes they'll project a green screen like you were talking about because they want to have that flexibility to swap out stuff. And maybe the biggest thing that changes the visual effects pipeline is that if they do want to get final composites, they have to have all their CG assets done before they actually even start shooting. And that's a big difference as far as they're used to shooting. You have like a little bit of pre-visualization where it's really low quality just to see how the camera's going to move, I kind of as far as an idea and what lens they're going to use and movement. Whereas now, if they want to do this, they're like, okay, well, we have to have all of our assets done before we even start shooting. Either that or they use low quality assets just to capture the reflections.
Yeah.
And then they do project that little green screen digitally, and then they do a green screen key. And I feel like that's going to be maybe the more popular way to do it, because if you do that small little square just for the camera's view and the actor and actress or whatever else is on screen, you're not going to get a huge amount of green spill, which can be very difficult spilling onto everything else on the set and on the actors and actresses.
Yeah.
But you still have that traditional flexibility to layer in all your effects to full kind of visual effects pipeline flexibility. So I think that's maybe what's going to be done the most. I don't know if they did that on the Mandalorian, because sometimes the videos they just promote the technology.
Yeah.
Whereas that's maybe not exactly what they're doing. But I feel like there probably is a lot of shots where that was their final composite. So I'd be curious to know really how much they were using each approach.
It's so cool. I just remember being so impressed when I saw it too, like with the landscapes. I'm like, man, this looks incredible for the budget, like for the show. You know what I mean? Because like you think about like a budget, like dang, this looks better than the new Star Wars. I just like you're looking at it like, wow.
I think they said, and this might be way off of my part, definitely fact check this. I think they said they spend about $20 million an episode.
Oh wow. Okay, and that's including actors and everything else too, or is it just VFX?
So.
Okay.
But so if they only had to say the screens were $20 million, so I've heard people say that it was way less than that, maybe more than that. Let's say it was $20 million. If you're getting to reuse all those sets infinitely, that actually pay for itself very quickly.
Yeah.
And as far as post-production as well.
Oh, heck yeah.
So honestly, I'm really excited to see where this technology is going to go. Honestly, I think it'd be super fun to try and do a really low budget version of this.
Let's do it.
In a home environment. Yeah.
Yeah, just get multiple TVs.
Well, you can use, so I've seen people use it for lower end production budgets. So say someone's riding a motorcycle and the camera's facing the person on the motorcycle. So you're looking at the front of the bike. They'll have a TV in front of the actor just projecting the reflections so the helmet gets those things. So you can use it in a lot more subtle ways without having to have it be the background of the camera scene. So it can be used in a lot of different ways. Yeah, so it can be used in a lot of different ways. They're just showing it on a more kind of grand scale with the Mandalorian, but it has a lot of really cool. Yeah.
Dude,
I've seen other ones where
I was looking at like when they had him like flying his ship and they had stars all around him. I'm like, that's so sick. Like even though it's so simple, just have stars, you know what I mean? But like just to get that, it was like moving in space and you get it on the screens or on the, it just looks so good.
And the cool thing is we've said it's a little bit cost prohibitive for smaller productions, but I have seen case studies where people have used large TVs, but they just turn them to where they're facing, this way, and they'll line them up. And you do have to frame the movements so you're not seeing the edges, but you can still shoot camera angles and have those. And either way, you're still getting the reflections, the real-time reflections and the interactive light, which is kind of the biggest thing. Because otherwise, if you think about it, if you're on a blue screen or green screen and you have a CG background and you have a red spaceship flying overhead that's supposed to cast light on there, you have to try and mimic those lights on the green screen stage and try and time them up the same and have them move the same. That can be really difficult. Whereas if you have even if you're not using it for backgrounds, if you just have the TVs projecting the light, in different spaces, or you do, rig it up in some way, that can save a lot of time.
I mean, think about it with like the Hobbit films.
Yeah.
They had all these swords it's
Yes.
reflecting back the green screen. So it's like you go in and you have to do so much work just to make the swords. And now it's like you have your sword and you see trees in the reflection or wherever they're at in the environment. Like, how sick is that? That's so cool.
And not only that, but that reflective sword. And in one of the videos, maybe Nick can link it. One of the videos that we looked at, you actually see the Hobbit, and you see
that's right,
at a certain angle, you see the green reflect. That makes the sword go invisible too, because it has green. The software thinks, all right, this is not supposed to be here, and you actually have to bring back in that sword by manually tracing it and saying, hey, this is supposed to be still here. But then that doesn't, like you said, doesn't account for the reflections that are supposed to be on the sword. So this is a lot of extra steps you don't have to do anymore. Honestly, this is like maybe the biggest thing in a long time as far
Since
as
Avatar, I
making
guess,
visual effects different. Yeah, I mean, Avatar
I guess that was more 3D than...
That was 3D. It did kind of push forward motion capture a lot as well, but that had a huge budget. Whereas this is something that ripples all the way down to where, we're not going to get these huge psychs, that are huge for the common production, but it's going to change production in a huge way. And the fact that Unreal's free, it's not proprietary hardware and software, that's huge.
What a good shout out for them too.
Oh yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, think about how many people are going to be downloading it to use it now and stuff. I guess I have to master it now. The only thing I've made was a 2D side scroller. Got to get into the 3D stuff.
but Unreal's really been pushing it hard. The Mill, who does a lot of really cool effects for especially commercials, they do a lot of Super Bowl commercials. They did this virtual production thing with a car commercial. I forgot what car company it was, but it was all rendered real time with in Unreal. And they have the Mill built this car. I think they call it the Blackbird or something like that, where it's basically a motion capture car where it captures the environment it's driving through, and it's just a chassis of a car. But they basically track it to where they can put any body of a car they want on it and then reproject the reflections on it. So this has been in the works for a while as far as Unreal being used in hardcore visual effects, but Mandalorian definitely pushed it way further. So I've been super pumped about this. And we wouldn't, if they didn't do the behind the scenes, we wouldn't even know that's how they did it.
Yeah.
Which is the coolest part.
Yes. Oh, it's so awesome. We've covered multiple visual effects breakdowns from His Dark Materials to our wonderful show, The Witcher. Ooh, The Witcher. I'll toss a coin to you, Witcher. To what else have we covered?
Well, we've talked about The Mandalorian quite a bit.
Mandalorian, because we did episode reviews and stuff on it. And then, we love doing visual effects breakdowns. We're visual effects artists, and it's just so cool to see what other artists are doing to give us ideas for our own side projects and stuff like that. So we post three videos a week. If you subscribe, you'll be notified with all of our new content that's coming up, from movie reviews to breakdowns. And also, if you go to asart.space, we have links to our audio podcast once a week. So
check out asart.space. All the information that we have, past, present, future, will be posted on there. We're working on a lot of other cool stuff. But overall, we want to make sure to link below all the videos and articles and stuff that we found interesting as well. This is a great thing. So if you guys have stuff you want us to know about and maybe talk about, please post it. Well, we've gotten some great comments from people. Well, we've gotten some great feedback
from you guys.
So
totally.
Yeah.
We've been loving it.
Yeah. Sounds like good stuff. So thank you guys. We'll see you on the next AsArt.